Welcome to Moviecaps. Today, I will show you a horror film from 2011, titled, The Tunnel. Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. During a water shortage crisis in New South Wales, the government plans to recycle and use the extensive underground water reservoir, located inside the network of tunnels, under the railway tracks in Sydney. A huge amount of money is dedicated to setting up a recycling plant, and the government officials are passionate about making it work. A journalist named Natasha is being interviewed, and explains that she, along with her team, had decided to cover this project. Although it can help overcome the water shortage, many people are concerned this might affect the homeless people living inside the tunnels, because they would have to move somewhere else. The government begins evicting them from the tunnels, but it is almost impossible, due to the extensive network, and the utter darkness, that makes it difficult to navigate. Soon, the Environment Minister claims that the area has been evacuated, and the project is going to start soon. In her interview, Natasha explains that although officials were quite optimistic about the project, it had suddenly disappeared from the media, without giving any logical explanation to the public. The situation made her realize something serious was going on, so she decided to dig in to get more information, as it was her job to uncover the facts. Natasha then explains how she, along with her crew including Steve, the cameraman, Tangles, the sound engineer, and Pete, their producer, covered this story. While doing her usual research, she comes across a video of some guys roaming around these underground tunnels, but one of them suddenly disappears. This video, along with the government's unexpected decision to close the project, intrigues her, and she plans to cover this story. When she shares her idea with her boss John, he asks her to contact Pete, who is about to go to China for his next assignment. Knowing he might have to leave his own project to cover this story, she feels uncomfortable bothering him, as she and Pete do not get along. When she hesitantly discusses it with him, he reacts as expected, and protests to John, who still favors Natasha, and urges him to go with her. Once the group agrees to take on the project, they start attending different government conferences, to find further details about the closure of the recycling project. During this time, they also learn that not only are the homeless guys still living in the tunnels, some of them mysteriously went missing as well. Natasha also questions the Environment Minister about this ongoing controversy, but he refuses to answer any questions on this subject matter. Seeing this, the team thinks the government is well aware of what's going on inside the tunnels, but is intentionally hiding the facts from the public. As the next step, Natasha starts visiting different shelters, to find any homeless guys who once lived down there. During her search, she comes across a guy named Trevor, and decides to interview him, as he was also a resident there. While interviewing him, they ask him about the living environment inside the tunnels. They also ask him if he knows someone in his community who went missing from the tunnels. This question disturbs him, and he starts to panic just by thinking about it. Seeing his intense reaction, the team is now sure there is something serious going on underneath, and they must dig in for further information. After they decide to visit these tunnels to look by themselves, Natasha calls the transport department to make the necessary arrangements, but learns no one is allowed to go there. Being determined to work on this story at any cost, she lies to her friends, saying although they don't have any permit, their boss John will cover for them if something bad happens. At night, they arrive at the entrance, but are stopped by the security guard, who reveals no one is allowed to enter the restricted area. Natasha also tries to bribe him, but it offends him even more, and he asks them to leave. The team does not give up, and finds an alternate route to enter the tunnels. As the scene switches to Steve's interview, he explains he had a strange feeling about that place, so he decided to film every moment, thinking if something goes wrong, they will use the footage as evidence, to prove it was Natasha who urged them to go there. He also tells the audience that they closed the doors behind them to cover their tracks, but now he thinks it was the biggest mistake they made. They eventually get to the tunnels, but realize it's completely dark inside, and they can't see anything without turning on the flashlights. They also find out about the complex network, and learn it won't be easy to find their way back. There are numerous tunnels branching in every direction, and some of them are not even mentioned on the maps. As a first impressions, they think the area is not just massive, but has a scary feel, due to the darkness and complete abandonment. After walking a few meters, they come across the stuff of homeless guys, revealing the government failed to evacuate the area, and was lying about it to the general public. Natasha explains, the tunnels were initially built as the underground railway network, but were also used as air raid shelters during World War II. The area is fully equipped, with all the necessary amenities required by the soldiers, to stay there for extended time periods. After proceeding further, and taking a few shots for the documentary, they arrive at a lake, and start recording the video, in which Natasha reveals about finding the water reservoir that has been the topic of recent controversy. During the recording, Tangles hears a strange sound and asks them about it, but they deny hearing anything at all. They resume the video, but he still complains about the noise, which they think is a technical fault, but he is sure something else is going on in the background. Continuing the journey, they arrive in the bell room, which was used to alert people during the air raids. Natasha rings the bell, but the sound is extremely loud. As the sound is deafening for Tangles, who is using headphones, he goes to the adjoining room to catch a better quality, and asks Steve to hear the audio for him. When she rings the bell again, Steve also hears the strange noise, but before they can discuss it, something grabs Tangles. They quickly rush out of the room to chase him, but can't find him anywhere. At this point, the scene switches to Natasha's interview, where she is given the audio clip from the bell room. After turning it on, she is stunned to hear the screams before the cable snaps. After failing to find any clue about Tangles, the team returns to the bell room, but all of their stuff is gone. Sensing the seriousness of the situation, Pete advises them to stick together, before resuming the search again. As they go forward, Natasha thinks maybe Tangles took their stuff as a joke. Steve disagrees, as he has also heard the strange voice through the headphones. After arriving in a hallway that leads to another network of tunnels, they rest for a while, and discuss the possibility of Tangles going back, but Natasha thinks he cannot leave in such a short time, and is still inside. While sitting there, they hear a sound, and start following it in search of him. The group then comes across a room, filled with still dripping blood, and finds Tangles' torch on the floor. This situation creates fear, and Natasha thinks whatever took him might be close, so they should leave the area immediately. After coming out, she finds out that her camera has been moved from the place where she left it, although they were inside for just a few minutes. Upon looking at the footage, they learn that someone picked it up, recorded them in the room, and left just before they came out. Pete gets scared of the situation, and suggests getting out of there, but Steve refuses to leave without Tangles. They argue with each other, but Pete convinces him to come with him, saying they can be safer if they stay together, and he unwillingly agrees, thinking he is leaving his friend behind. While trying to find an exit, they hear someone calling them, and find it's the security guard, who tried to stop them earlier. As they tell him about Tangles, he gets afraid, and starts walking away, while ignoring their requests for help. They go after him, but as he reaches the corner, something grabs him and disappears into another tunnel. The group screams out of horror, and rushes back to another room, where they remain hiding to make sure that the thing that captured the security guard has left the surroundings. After treating Steve's injured arm, they resume the journey, but find two different tunnels that are not mentioned on the map. Pete thinks instead of going forward, they should wait there, and John will eventually send someone to rescue them. When he shares it with Steve, he agrees, but Pete learns Natasha never told John about coming down there. He starts arguing with her about her irresponsible behavior, but she says she needed to cover the story at any cost. Pete gets angry with her, and holds her responsible for Tangles' death. He angrily snatches the camera from her, and forces her to record a video, explaining how they lost a friend due to her selfishness, but she is unable to say anything. After the argument, Pete starts walking again, but hears a strange sound, so they extinguish all the lights, and use a night vision camera to look at the source of the sound, but find the security guard in a miserable state. Soon, the group watches in horror, as a humanoid creature appears from the water, and kills him, by slowly turning his head until his neck breaks. Seeing this, Natasha cannot hold her scream, and alerts the creature, that starts chasing them down. While trying to escape, they arrive at a dead end, with a vent in the corner of the room. Panicked by fear, Natasha starts calling someone for help from above the ground, but no one answers. After the failed attempt, they pass through another passage, where the creature nearly grabs Pete, but vanishes after Steve shines the light on it, which makes them realize he is afraid of light. After rescuing him, they resume walking, but end up at another dead end covered with wood planks. They remove the wood, and find a way to the next room, where they find some signs of a living, and spot human flesh on the floor. Suddenly the light goes off, and Pete quickly replaces the batteries, knowing they might be in danger, as long as they are in the dark. As soon as the light switches on again, the creature attacks Pete and Steve, while scared Natasha runs away with her night vision camera. She silently tries to find a way out, but is confronted by the creature, who drags her into the lake, while the camera still records. Hearing her screams, Peter and Steve start looking for her, and follow the sound to the lake, where Pete challenges the monster to distract him, while Steve takes Natasha away. After arriving at a well-lit tunnel, they rush back, and recover badly wounded Pete, whom they drag near the platform. After making it to the station, Natasha borrows someone's phone and makes a call for help. The postscript indicates that Pete died due to excessive internal bleeding. Natasha resigned from her job as a journalist, and Steve is still working as a news and current affairs cameraman. They never found Tangles, and his family is still waiting for some news about him, while the police investigation was closed, due to the contradictory evidence. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications and leave a like to help the channel out.